Welcome back to the King of Average podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are with another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, BB, along with
Medic.
your other host.
Yo.
And we're talking about optimism today. Shout out Barbie in the background.
Shout out feminism.
Shout out Creative House for all of your social media marketing needs. Creative House. That's Creative Haus. Shout out Danielle and the whole team. They've been doing all our social media. And what? Do we love them or what?
Dude, truthfully, I love you.
We're getting dinner soon, I promise. So yeah, dude. Let's get into it. We're talking about optimism. We thought it would be a perfect segue from the last time's conversation, which was trials and tribulations. And we thought it'd be really, really nice to skip whatever topic we're supposed to talk about and just go straight into optimism, because obviously it just,
It flows better.
yeah, yin and yang, yin and yang. So yeah, dude.
Bro, you're like one more yaw or away from me like snapping, bro. Don't you dare. Don't you freaking dare.
You think about the off? Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start this off in the very Matic fashion, and we're gonna say, when I say the word optimism, what's the first thing that comes to your head? Go.
Whenever I think of optimism, I'm thinking simply happiness, a better life. I'm thinking joy. I'm just only really thinking of good things. I'm thinking of a better outcome, a more joyous, fulfilled life. How about you?
Whenever I think of optimism, I think the way it plays out in my mind is simply, dude, why would you choose stress? Why would you choose to be upset when you could literally simply just be like, hey, it's all gonna work out. Hey, it's all gonna be great. Let's have a positive outlook. Instead of saying how worse can it get, why are we asking ourselves how good can it get? What's the best outcome that could possibly happen from this? Whenever I think of optimism, yeah, I always think back to like, more personal, like my family and stuff. And it kind of like makes me wonder, like, am I really the only person in family who like thinks, yo, I'd rather not, turn every scenario negative. Like, I'd rather see the positive side of things.
Well, I feel like in a person's life, if all they're looking at is just negative, then that's all they're going to continue seeing, because all they see.
Dude, there was a video that my brother was playing in the car the other day. We were busting missions, and there's a video I was watching from Andrew Tate, and it was really interesting because he put it in a perspective to where he related it differently. He wasn't necessarily talking about optimism, but the theory applies here.
Shout out Amy.
And the idea was basically talking about like Newton's second law, third law, whatever. And the idea that like where there is action, there's always an equal opposite reaction, right? It's the idea where it's like if you punch a wall, the reason why it hurts is because the wall punches you back.
You know what the reason is?
What's the reason?
If you punch a drywall, the reason why it hurts is because you didn't drink enough Monster.
So Newton's law, right? For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction, right? And so the way he brought this whole concept up, the way he brought it, as a good way to apply it into life, is like once you approach every situation in life with a certain energy, wouldn't it make sense that the outcome of that situation is going to have pretty much the same energy as you put into it? And so, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like once you approach a situation with this negative energy, what are you going to expect from it? When you approach a situation and you are optimistic and you do give it positive energy, you think to yourself, it's not going back to the whole idea of like I get to do something, right? If you approach it thinking, I'm going to give it my all because I know there's going to be a good outcome out of this. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to give it everything I can. I'm going to put in my best effort. I'm going to do everything I can to just optimize, right? What could you expect except a positive outcome?
I mean, I kind of associate that to almost being naive. right? So you know when we're young, we're thinking like of all just the benefits of doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Just full send, I think, is just goes around being naive
Mm-hmm.
because you don't really take into consideration the potential harms that might come out of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you never really think as a little kid of the what are you looking at? You don't really focus too much. I guess I'm trying to wrap it up of like all the negatives that are going on. All you're thinking about is just the best case scenario.
How fun is this going to be with my boys?
And usually it's a bad decision. But these are all stories that we grew up talking about, and we're just like laughing. We're like, how stupid was that? Like for example, when it was me, Ahmed Zadar, and Joed, right? We were at Ahmed's spot, and we were probably like freaking 14, 15 years old. Ahmed's parents are out like I think out of the country or traveling. So him and his siblings have the house to himself. Ahmed's by himself. It's me, say we're all chilling. We get bored of watching YouTube videos. And then we start playing cards. And I forgot what card game we played. I think it was 21 or something. And we got bored. So Ahmed had the genius idea of wanting to like spice things up. He's like, the last place, the person that loses, they're going to have some sort of repercussion. There's going to be some sort of like haze or something done to them. The person that wins first place is the person that's able to actually think of the idea and do it to that person. Second place, you barely skim by. Like, you got it. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to enjoy the other person get tortured. We played 2 games. First game, Ahmed was the loser. Joed won. I barely did. So the idea that Joed thought about was pinching Ahmed's nipple for 1 full minute. 1 full minute of just pure tweezer-like pressure.
These are my friends.
All right? Sounds very kinky, actually. And then just for like 1 full minute, Ahmed's like, he's just yelling out of pure pain. And then by the time that minute was done, Ahmed wanted to play another round because he had to redeem himself. Ahmed, that round, he won first place the second time. Joed won second. I won third. So the punishment, and this is horrible, bro. It was tormenting pain, was pulling my hair for 1 full minute. The end, bro. It sucked, dude. So it was just like a stupid, horrible experience that like we talk about, that we reminisce like 10 years later or so, maybe even longer. And then we're like, you're so stupid for that. We were so stupid for that. But I guess when you were talking about like, when I brought up the whole thing of like being naive, would you think that whole like Newton's law of just, if you're going to be going into a situation, your energy that you bring forth is going to typically be the outcome? Would you think that in order for you to maintain that positivity, that there needs to be some sort of, you have to be some sort of like a level of naive?
I'm glad you brought that up, because first things first about that story, I keep saying this, dude. If we decided to just like record ourselves doing some of the stuff that we did like flipping 14 years ago, honestly, we would have had a completely different life, this many years later.
Joed probably would have been addicted to drugs.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know why, but
okay.
yeah.
All right. We'll move on. But to answer your question, I think I like the whole concept of like being naive and whatnot, because I feel like you definitely have told me before that I do have naive tendencies. There's a lot of situations which I am naive, and it almost seems like I choose to be. Um, and the reality is that I feel like I do, and it is one of those things where it's like I do recognize that there are positives to it, but there are a lot of negatives to being naive. And it's something that I constantly think about, just because, not necessarily to justify it, to justify being naive, but more along the lines to like better understand myself, better understand why is it that I feel as though being naive isn't so bad, right? And funny enough, the conclusion that I arrived at with this whole concept of being naive, especially as it applies to me, if it applies differently to anybody else, I can totally see that. But the way it applies to me is not necessarily I'm naive about situations. I kind of just like almost don't care, but rather I'm naive in the sense of I prefer to go into a situation not assuming the worst. I prefer to go into a situation with a positive mindset, thinking that, once again, not thinking what's the worst that can happen, right? So in a sense, it's like, yes, it does come off as me being naive, but it's more along the lines of, no matter what happens, I'm rooting for the best outcome. And even if something that we can perceive as negative, at the end of the day, I can sit back and I can say, you know what? Everything happens for a reason, because in fact, it always does, right? There are so many negative outcomes. It's like, years down the line or on the back end, something positive comes out of it. So it's like, aside from the whole idea of being naive, it's always nicer to just be optimistic, because at the end of the day, it's like you let go of all the stress, all the worry, you let go of control of the uncontrollables, right? And whether something good comes out of it or negative, everything happens for a reason. And it's just a comfortable way to live.
I like how another thing too is like we talk about being naive and we link it to us being kids. We talk about
That is interesting.
we talk about the haze of just our youth and the dumb decisions and this and that. But look at all the fun that we did growing up. Like our adolescence, our teen years and stuff. Like we had an amazing time off just pure stupidity. And a lot of it's considered immaturity, right? But we had all this fun, all this good time. But then it's like you grow up and you're forced through society to mature. By being mature, a lot of the fun is just kind of sucked out of that. So it's almost like a negative thing to be like, you're still a kid. Now, there are certain instances that you have to man up and you have to take control of situations, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your whole life needs to be revolved around you being firm, you always being strict, you always thinking about the worst things. It's one thing to be responsible, but I want to coin the term being responsibly naive, right? Where like you're not going to lose that innocence. You're still not going to lose that joy of just life, right? Because for many human beings, their peak of happiness, for the most part, was when they're little. Why do we always think about? We always just envy those times that we barely have it. Like we don't have that much responsibilities. We always meet up on our fixies and just staying up late at night, going just wherever we can, wherever we want to go, and just have that freedom. We envy those times because we're like, oh my gosh, those were the best times. But then at that moment, we're thinking about, man, 10-year medic is going to be crazy. 10-year BB is going to be like, we're going to be established. We're going to be having a career. We're going to be having money. We're going to be having our own car. Forget this bike that we're having. We're going to be having a nice car and so on. But then like, here we are now, 10 years later, us looking back at our lives like, man, those were the times. So I don't necessarily think that like being naive is or considered to be completely negative thing. Only it's situationally negative, right? But man, I feel like if a person has some sort of like childness to them, or even some sort of being naive to it, I feel like that's gonna be raising up a lot of experiences, but at the same time, I feel like you are going to be benefiting from it because, you know, just as negative as it sounds, you can have a lot of positives because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's like when we went to freaking Costa Rica, there's signs all over. We went to this one place called La Fortuna. There's signs all over saying, don't swim, danger, you're going to drown, powerful, you know what I'm saying, currents and stuff. What do?
Honestly, dude, shout out to you for all that, bro. I swear to God, I'm sitting there trying to take pictures and videos and do all this stuff. I turn around, this dude's naked. Like, this dude's just clothes off, climbing over the
Where'd
fence.
close at? We're in Costa Rica. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. Like, we jumped over the fence. We went down to this crystal clear freaking...
No, not crystal clear.
Dude, the thing was cool.
It was flipping. It was blue, bro.
Blue Gatorade, bro. That's exactly what it was.
Lord, yeah.
It was amazing. It was some of the best.
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
And we still lived, right? That's the whole thing, right? Did you die?
Forget we still lived. You kept saying this thing every time, because we did this on multiple occasions, where it was just like, I don't give a F about what they say. We're just going to hop over the railing and just, you know? And we did this on multiple occasions, and you kept repeating this thing to me that, like, stuck with me so hard. You were like, dude, I'm not going to come all the way to Costa Rica to not experience this. And I was just like, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I started getting naked, too.
Sure, we were naked, bro. All right, let's just be honest, because we know the story. They don't know the story. The all freaking 3 or 4 people that's going to watch
They don't need to know the story.
All right, bet, bro. Bet. BB put out. But,
all right, dude. Now I'm offended.
They don't need to know the story, bro. They don't really need to know the story.
Now I'm upset.
But exactly. But it's those moments that we did that now we talk about, and we're like, oh my gosh, we can't believe we did that. That was crazy. Let's do it again. I can't wait to our next trip so we can just carry on that. But it's just the experiences as opposed to us being responsible, mature adults. Oh, the repercussions. Oh, but that sign says this. And
I have a perfect example of Costa Rica, actually.
Yes.
The stick shift car.
Yes. Tell him about that.
Bro, this is numbnuts. We booked a car online. He had no idea that you're supposed to set it for either automatic or manual. So it ended up being manual. And at first we were trying to negotiate with them, like, no, we need an automatic, blah, 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 this and that. And then the guy was trying to, like, upcharge us and this and that, and we were not having any of it. And eventually we had a moment where we were just, instead of just going, oh, it's a manual, it's gonna suck, you know, we barely know how to drive stick shift, and we don't know the country
suck now, it's gonna be,
you know what I mean? What a waste, and blah, 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 we came all this way. We were optimistic about it. We were very optimistic about it. We were just like, dude, Loki, this is going to be sick. It's going to bring new challenges. It's going to be a whole different experience. And we really changed our mindset about it. We were a little bit more optimistic. And the fact of the matter is we both left that trip and we were just like, bro, next time I come to Costa Rica, I want a stick shift car.
Yep. Next time we go to Costa Rica, we got to rent out that Suzuki car, the Jimmy.
Oh, the Jimny.
The Jimny.
The Jimny.
The mini G-Wagon.
The mini.
It's a J-Wagon, bro. That's what it is.
J-Wagon.
Dude, but what it was. Let's not be mature adults. Let's be responsible. But let's make this trip memorable so we can tell the story later. So I think with that mindset, once we get back to reality, which is back to work, back to our livelihoods and so on, like, we tend to stop that. We tend to stop making memories, making those stories, exploring, doing stuff. Doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, death, or like, doesn't necessarily have to be like, what I'm trying to say is like something deadly, potentially deadly. That's what I'm trying to say. Right? But like, it doesn't necessarily have to be completely stupid and oblivious and like law breaking, but just moments where like you just want to send it, you just want to do something, you want to make it more memorable. So I think with that, responsibly naive is where a person should probably live their life.
So I know you definitely have like zero responsibilities in your life right now, because you're a bum. So I wanted to ask, what is something that like on a day to day?
I'm actually listening. I took,
I thought of,
I took that like a champ.
no, you did. That's fine. That's not the point. The point is, I was trying to like make it sound. Anyways, um, with your lack of responsibilities in life, what is it that is something, uh, that happens on a day to day that is a part of you being an adult now that does stress you out to the degree where sometimes it could uh like make you forget to be optimistic. Does that question make any sense?
No, it doesn't. But so I think about the future, and I think about the bills, the kids, the private school, the mortgage, the wife, the second wife, the third wife. Okay. But so like but I think about like
I like that, the future
all of like the responsibilities that are going to be happening,
that you're gonna have that you don't have.
right? Like the mortgage, like the kids and so on, right? But like I think about that and I'm like, I need to save as much money as possible right now and possibly make as much money as possible right now. So that way, when I'm married, we don't have to compromise too much. We don't have to jeopardize a lot of memories, a lot of funds, a lot of potential traveling, a lot of stuff like that, right? So that's what I think about. So I prep myself. So naturally, I grew up with my father being very not stingent, right? Well, like not stingy, I mean, but like my dad never really spoiled himself. He never got the Mercedes. He never got the Rolex watch just cause he could get it. He never did that. His whole mentality was like, I'm going to hustle my butt off for the benefit of the family, the benefit of the kids. So when I pass away, they're going to be having a house. When I pass away, they're going to be having a decent amount of...
Shout out Ben, dude.
Yeah, but like, dude, I love you. But
But you suck. What was the but?
No, but I mean, but like getting back to it is I grew up with that. So I saw what my dad did and the sacrifices that he did for the greater good of the family. And I've adapted that naturally. So now that's my norm. So I'm trying to link it to the whole thing of spoiling myself, getting a massage, something that none of us or your average person doesn't really think about. Oh, we don't really get massages that often. If we do, it might be like what, once, maybe twice a year.
A little tuggy here and there.
So send the location,
but
that's it. You gotta pay extra for that one. But but like I see myself not spending money on clothes, like the Gucci, the Prada, the this, the that, all the like the higher end clothes, right? I'd rather pay like a $15 for a shirt. I'd rather pay something like that, where that way it's quality still decent, but like I'm able to then save that money for the future.
Shout out Nordstrom Rack.
Yeah, and shout out just Columbia, bro.
Shout out Slick Deals.
Don't get you started, bro. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I see myself being a minimalist, and I consider myself a minimalist, and I feel like so are you to a certain extent.
We're very. I find it really interesting. Are you done with your point, pretty much?
Yeah, basically.
Cool, awesome. I find it really interesting because I feel like, our homie group, and it's kind of like I feel like me just in general, you as well, we're low maintenance. We're easy to please. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't take much for, like, we literally, like, our hangouts, what we consider fun is just chilling in the backyard, smoking some hookah, having a good conversation with the right people, And the thing is, it's like somebody might think, oh, that gets boring after a while. Somebody might think, well, that's not really exciting. You're not going out and experiencing things. It's like, true, right? We could go out. We could, get ourselves into something or another that could create memories. But sometimes these conversations alone are just hilarious to be in. These conversations alone are just so much fun. They're so fulfilling for us, right? And we are, like I said, very, very like easy to please. We're low maintenance. And the only reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I feel like when you are low maintenance and you do find appreciation and gratitude and even the smallest things in life, it's very easy for you to be an optimistic person, because once again, it's like
I love how you like that.
you don't set these high expectations that are bound to fail. You know what I'm saying? You don't set high expectations in people who are not going to fulfill. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's really cool. I think it's just in general, for like just mental health in general, I think it's just very healthy to, one, be low maintenance, have that optimism, just in order that, once again, when the good times come, you're always happy. And when finish this point. And when the bad times come, there's something good on the other side of it. You know what I'm saying? You're very okay with it. You're kind of passive about it. You're kind of stoic about it. You're kind of naive about it. Instead of being the person who, even when the good times come, they start complaining about how it's not good enough. Like, go screw yourself.
The best example is when we were in Thailand. So the majority of our trip, we went to Malaysia and Thailand. We spent it at at least the first part, we spent it at not a hostel, but it was like a freaking 2-star, 3-star at best, bro. That hotel sucked.
So, bro, the room smelled like cigarettes.
Yeah, legit. So like, when we finally got to Bangkok, like, we ended up saying, you know what, screw it. Let's get ourselves a really nice hotel. Because a really nice hotel was like $100 a night.
No.
A really nice hotel was.
I think we ended up paying like $70. I think $70.
A really nice hotel was about $70 a day. Or I'm sorry, a night. So when we went from cigarettes to like being on the freaking 20-something floor with an overview of just all of Bangkok.
Oh.
And then the restroom having like a hot tub and then like a glass overlooking all of the, like, when you experience that, you have something to compare it to, but we have cigarettes to compare it
The
to.
master bedroom was phenomenal. You should have seen it.
Yeah.
Actually, you can see it. Go check out Mustafa Bibi's vlogs, and go check out Thailand, because it's the master bedroom is definitely in that video. Anyways,
Sweet, man. So what I was trying to say,
he was so salty that I took the master bedroom.
rightfully
so.
Wait. At the beginning, I was.
This dude was like, 1 round, rock, paper, scissors, winner gets the master bedroom.
I did that at the gym today.
No way.
I swear to God. I swear, bro.
For a bench?
For a machine. For a machine.
Legend.
So like, I went and the guy went at the same time. He looked at me. It's some like teenager. So he's like, "Oh, you gonna go? You got this one?" I'm like, "Nah, man. You want to work out with me?" He's like, "Let's rock, paper, scissors, man." I'm like, "Let's settle this like men, and let's just do 1 round." He was like, "All right, cool." Boom, boom, boom. I lost, right? But like, what I was trying to say is like, I guess I'm competitive, so like, I'm willing to at least try. At least, as long as I tried. When I lost, I'm cool with that. Even though I don't lose to that one. You just did it. You're like, "No, this is mine." And then I was like, whatever. That's all it is. But that's the good thing about traveling with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, there's that compromise. I could have went on and about like giving you reasons of, no, this is not fair. Dude, why are you taking that? Why are you just making that decision by yourself and blah, 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 blah. Ruin all of the trip over a freaking room where I'm comfortable. I have 2 beds in my bedroom, right? It's like, it doesn't really matter. I have my own restroom. I have my own privacy. And I'm staying at a plush, lavish hotel. Like, what is there? Like, you got to think about it real fast. What is there really to think about? Or I'm sorry, to complain about. So at that moment, it was like, all right. I would guess I was like a little annoyed at the beginning, especially the more I started checking it out. I was like, this mother sucker, dude. But eventually I was like, let the boy enjoy it. Let him enjoy it. He deserves this. And then you go about your life.
Yeah, I want to connect that to this idea about how less is more in life. And I feel like obviously there's so many examples that we could give. I can't think of any. But one thing that I could think about is having less expectations is definitely more. You know, when you go into we're sitting down with Jan King Credit, he was explaining the whole idea of like, dude, when I travel, I don't plan anything. I don't book tours, none of that. I literally just go, we're going to Spain. Cool, we're going to Spain. Let's find out what we're going to do in Spain when we get to Spain, right? And
some people can't do that.
Some people
got to map out every second of their trip.
Yeah.
Not us.
And I like making general plans, right? Because it's like, for example, like there's no way, I'm going to go to Spain and not go to Granada, right? There's no way I'm going to go to Spain and not go to Barcelona. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things I'd like to plan out, but for the most part, when you create less expectations and you go into things with just like this open mind, being very receptive to anything that comes your way, you will make the most out of it, and you will allow zero room to complain about anything.
I like how you link the whole like us being low maintenance to just us living a better quality life.
Mm-hmm.
Because on paper you're like, well, why are you like shooting yourself short? Why are you like not buying the car that you want? Why are you not falling into all these desires? You know what it is? It's at the end of the day, it's just knowing that you can do it, you can get it, you can buy it, but you don't have to. You're not going to give in to all of your desires. It's discipline at the end of the day. And you get to just, everything has its own opportunity cost. It just doesn't, it's not worth it. Yeah, it'll be nice to flex like a nice AP. Yeah, I might be able to afford one. But at the end of the day, will it make my life that much better? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to sleep the same without it. I'm still going to be able to live a life just about the same without a whole watch or without the newest BMW or so on. Like, you know what would be better? A house. What's the point of buying a Ferrari if you live at your parents' house?
I think also, what's the point of buying like an expensive car or expensive clothing when in less than 12 months a newer version is going to come out, a different design is going to come out, and all of a sudden what you have and spent so much money on
is not good enough,
is outdated, and now you're sitting there and you're stressing over an identity crisis because your identity is represented by a material thing. Yeah, dude, no vibes.
Yeah, so like being low maintenance is so important in my life, and I'm very sure in your life too,
Mm-hmm.
because we're genuinely happy people. Even when ish is hitting the fan, we're happy. We're always joking around. We're always just we could be in an empty parking lot. We could be at the boys, the Joed's, like just kicking it at Joed's, doing absolutely nothing, but we're having the time of our life. We don't necessarily judge an experience based on the money that's around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's based off the people, quality of people, and then the conversation that we have, the quality of the conversation.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, we didn't go, we had a great conversation, but we weren't on a rooftop. Or we were in San Diego. Or we were in Laguna Beach, that would have been way better.
Yeah.
No, it was like we were in, someone's back, or like one of the boys' backyard.
Right.
And we had the best conversation ever. That was such a memorable night. Stops right there. We don't start comparing it. Oh, but if we did this, and if we went to this spot, and if we had this, that's just ruining the moment. You're just comparing it, right? And that's just that you're robbing yourself of such a joyous.
Yeah, it takes me back to kind of like the thing that I like to do whenever we go travel, whenever we go anywhere, and like we're planning on being there for like, you know, a few days, couple days, whatever the trip is, right? I always like to maintain a level of optimism in which I try to find a point of happiness so early on the trip that I can tell myself, even within the first few hours, even within the first day of the trip, I can tell myself, you know what, I'm so satisfied with this trip already that if I had to turn around and go home right now, I'd be pleased with this trip. I would put it in the books. I would say that was a dope trip. I try to find a point as early as possible. And the cool thing is so far every time we've gone on a trip, I've said that out loud every single time. You know, if we had to go home right now, I would be happy with this trip. And it's such a perfect way to like implement being optimistic in your life, because if you can be satisfied with so little as early as possible, then moving forward,
It's only up.
it only goes up from there.
It's only up.
It only goes up from there. And there's never been a time where I said that and then it went downhill.
Yeah.
There's never been a time, you know? I think that's really dope.
Because even if it does go downhill for whatever reason, we still had our high point.
Yeah. You still have something you can lean back on.
You can lean back on, you can reminisce about. So like the power of optimism is very, very obviously important, because that leads to, that's why when you're like word association, when you think about optimism, that's why I said a joyous life, a fulfilled life.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about at this moment, and it's only been like a day into the trip of an 8-day trip. You're like, if I leave right now, I'm happy. That basically means that like, it's like legit, it's only up from there. That means that like, you've lived, so like you've not reached the pinnacle, because you're not setting it that low, but like you've reached such a joyous part, and you're so grateful for everything that's happened, and you're so aware of everything that happened, this the randomness and so on, that you appreciate everything else that comes to the trip. The people that we meet, the experiences, everything else, it's just that much more beautiful and meaningful. So I feel like being around people who are like-minded is very important, because you're able to share not only the experience, but you share the same values.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to have someone that's constantly nagging and complaining that, oh, but we didn't go to a rooftop, and why didn't we go over here? Why? And then in my mind, I'd be like, why did I invite you on this trip? You know, like it's, we don't, no one wants that.
That's funny, dude.
No
Especially
a nagger.
Especially the
Hard R.
Especially like the people who are, they're so keen about going to like these like Instagram-esque places, like, oh, I want to go to the rooftop bars in LA.
Fam, take me to a jungle, dog.
Or it's like
that right there is
right, that's a vibe, that's a memory. But it's like, oh, you know, we want to go check out this fancy restaurant. Oh my god, you know, this celebrity went there, so I want to go check it out now. Those are the same people who are gonna go to these places and be awkward little flipping ducks chilling in the corner, right? With their arms crossed and just not talking to anybody.
Yes, there was a movie.
And not even making the most of their situation there, right? Absolute bums. But
that kind of reminds me of the whole optimist talk. Right? Did you want to continue on with that, by the way?
No, go ahead, because I want to kind of like start the closing point.
Okay, but I think I might be leading on to it.
Okay, I mean, you go ahead. I'm just gonna shut you up eventually.
Okay, cool. But remember when we had that podcast with Arlon, and he talked about his life coach, and he was talking about his life coach said, if everything was to be perfect, if you lived a perfect life, what would it look like? And that's
so. I'm glad you brought up the point that I was gonna bring as a closing point, but you messed it up.
You know what? Spark notes.
Yeah. No, I blame myself, because I only wrote the first half of the quote right there in the notes.
No, I mean that's all I remember too.
Oh, really? But yeah, no, that is indeed the closing point that I wanted to close with, and it was a quote that, honestly, why does this thing make my back sweat, bro? Anyways, it was a fantastic quote.
Optimist.
And it was my back's swaying for a reason. It was a quote that honestly just like it hit me. It hit me different. And it was such a beautiful quote. He said to his life coach immediately when he hired him on. First thing he said to him was, "If life was perfect, what happens next?"
That's basically what I said.
No. You were alluding to still dreaming about what your perfect life looks like. But when you ask the question, what happens next, you tell yourself, I got everything I need. I got lungs that breathe on their own, a heart that beats on its own. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I have 2 working legs. My arms work. My eyes work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have so much to be grateful for. I'm fed, right? I have access to food and drink. My bills are paid. Everything's taken care of. There's a roof over my head. My family's all alive and well. My life is perfect. What happens next? So it allows you to go into the thing that you've been planning your whole life but haven't started yet. It allows you to go into the dreams that 12-year-old in you still wants to fulfill, still wants to achieve. It allows you to go into them with a level of optimism that almost tells you this will not fail. And that's why that quote is so dope. And next time you mess it up, I'm going to pull your hair for a minute.
But if life was perfect, what happens next?
No, if life was perfect, what does it look like?
Pull my hair. And just like that.
Yeah, with that being said, be optimistic that the next episode will be better.
You know what, bro? Facts, man. So that...
Hey, be optimistic that 5 people are watching this time and not just 4.
You got 1, you got 2, you got the editor, that's 3.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby. We got 3 people already, man.
Oh, man.
This is amazing. But to wrap things up, optimistic, live life, be low maintenance at times. Don't be a freaking stuck-up prick. Be happy. Take life as it comes to you, man.
Find reasons to be happy.
Find it.
Don't go out of your way to find reasons to be upset over petty matters.
You got all of these bags. You have a whole bag filled up with emotions. Joy, happiness, you know what I'm saying? Like being pissed off, being depressed, being all this stuff, right? Why not choose happiness? If you are like, I wouldn't say able to, but like if you were to be able to choose any sort of emotion, why not choose happiness? It's all about the pursuit of happiness, right? But if you're always choosing, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, the situation's not good enough. Oh, I'm not this. Oh, I'm not that. Then guess what? That's going to be a very crappy life. You're going to look back at it and like, man, I wish I never thought like that. I wish I did this. I wish I had the...
I had so much.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, like, especially like people get older, they're always just like, oh man, if I had my youthful energy, like, dog, you have it now.
I always love watching.
You have it now.
I always love watching like those like random
You have it now.
YouTube, TikTok videos of like, hey, that was perfect. But like all those like things of like, you basically your future self is gonna be bragging about or just dying to be in this position that you're in right now, and you're out here complaining. Shut up and do something. Shut up and live life. Be happy. Be fulfilled. Happiness is a temporary emotion. Being depressed is a temporary emotion. Sad, anger, so on, it's temporary. But for the most part, I feel like as humans, as inevitable life is, we're able to at least dictate some sort of the outcome. At least the way we react to the outcome.
Especially the emotional outcome.
Correct. Right?
Yeah.
So you got the uncontrollables, you got the controllables. It's cliche, we heard it like 1,000 times. But I feel like the emotional outcome, we have it. It's something didn't happen our way. Alhamdulillah, it could have been worse.
Facts.
That saved me from a lot of like negativity in my life.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I think the perfect way to wrap this up is to quite simply say, the energy you put in will 100% dictate the energy that comes out, and a happy mind is a happy life. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the King of Average podcast with your boy BB and
Medic.
we'll catch y'all later.
Peace.